A roll call?
Ms. Powell? Here. Mr. Dennis?
Here.
Ms. Tuttle? Ms. Nazat?
Here.
Mr. Stiggins?
Present.
Mr. Mayara? Chairman Pasquale?
Here. All right. We have quorum. Has everybody received a copy of the minutes?
Yes.
Is there any corrections or a motion to accept?
I'm 73 years old, so my memory isn't perfect.
Okay.
But on the subject of short-term rental in the Proto Group project was brought up by Mr. Nicholson at first. And then I'm reading here where Mr. Berger stated short-term rentals can be located in areas where hotels and motels are allowed, but there are several places on the beachside, da, da, da. Is a PD an overlay to the existing zoning, or is it a replacement of the existing zoning? 'Cause I kind of remember.
It is a rezoning, and in the PD itself, in this particular case, the one you're going to see tonight is T1. So it
But he's asking
allows,
about the condo.
but for condos
Yeah.
and for any, like the Proto Group, whatever's in that PD controls.
So it is not an overlay,
It's not an
and
overlay.
therefore short-term rentals are not allowed in the Proto Group.
Hey, Mike, let me try it. It's my project, I might be able to help.
Yeah.
So, the only lawyer in the room, so I'm gonna try it. So the PDs, generally speaking, and in this PD in particular, are not an overlay. They're actually a separate and distinct zoning classification, if you will, custom tailored to that site. However, almost all of them have provisions in the document that say, if things are not addressed in this agreement, it defers to the existing land development code.
So it's kind of an overlay.
To that extent, it is an overlay, if you will. So there is a fallback provision that falls back to the code.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I agree with my assistant. That was a great explanation. Thank you.
All right, so Mike, do you want to make a motion to
I move
approve?
we accept the minutes.
I'll
All right,
second.
Amy, she seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let me sign this and we'll get it to the next. There you go. All right. Item 4, Reed.
All right. This is a first amendment to the comprehensive sign plan for Project Longboard. The request is by Mr. Robert Merrill, Capcol, on behalf of Daytona JV LLC, and Belgian LLC, to approve an amendment for this comprehensive sign plan. And this is located at 415 South Atlantic Avenue. Did I say 415? 451. 451. That's my dyslexia in thinking. It should be 45, I think. Okay. And I'm going to go up here, just so you know where we're located here. There is a location map. Didn't put it in your packet, but if anyone needs to know what it looks like today, this is your photo shows what's built. There's 2 restaurants. The background, I think I provided that all in your staff report. This is really, this amendment is because Krabby's Oceanside Restaurant is replacing the Mexican restaurant that was there. And they've done some of the signage already, they've already installed. And what happens now is, catch up, we've got the applicant seeking to get all of the signage blessed and planned. That's there. There's an example of the frontage and what it looks like at night as well. The EMC sign is really the new change in this overall plan, and requesting something that needs a couple of waivers. Number one is that provides so there's one provision of the 21 requirements for a EMC, and that is the size, the 650 contiguous linear feet, and that was something that needed to be waived, and as well as the acreage requirement. And so to make sure everyone was clear on what that was, they're providing a minimum size of 6 acres of minimum frontage along an arterial street of 500 linear feet. So it's a little less than the 650 that is typically required, but it's a fairly sizable tract of land.
Right. One second, I just had a question on the, and I'm going back years, and maybe I'm incorrect on this, but I thought at one point in the redevelopment areas, we only allowed electronic message centers for government facilities, and I didn't know that we opened it up to, obviously you're quoting the land development code, so we must have opened it up, and I don't know when we did. When did we?
We did
Started with
the
Speedway.
expert is here.
Yeah, but I understand that. That's for the speedway and everything, but for
I can help you.
yeah.
So I wrote the code, and you might remember there was this long controversy. It started with
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
with George's sign on the A1A.
Exactly.
So years went by, and they allowed George to Caramitas to grandfather his out. I think they had 10 years amortization, because the one that he had was bright and obnoxious, and it was distracting for people driving down A1A.
And we're talking about Maui Nix,
So that's
for
why,
everybody.
yeah, Maui Nix. So that's why the city decided, this is Rob Merrill for the record, sorry, Dino.
Yeah.
That's why the city decided, we don't want any more of these electronic signs. Well, technology changed over those years, and the signs now look like a nice TV set, basically. And so we presented that to the city commission. I believe it started with doing the speedway signs, and then several others. Gary Yeoman's got hit. We got a lot of them now in town. And the reason why there are a lot of them in town is we wrote a code to allow them. And so Pam Woods and I, literally, the commission said, you and Pam go off and do whatever you got to do to figure this out and come back with a set of standards, how this is going to work. We've since tweaked some of those, and we've since had to use waivers on some of them because they didn't work technologically, but there have been a lot of signs put up. Everybody seems fine with them. They're not distracting to anybody. There was a lot of things about the interval when they can turn on and when they can change and stuff.
I was on the planning board when all of that was happening.
So you remember then. That's when that happened. So the thing that Reed is quoting now is that book of rules that we put in place when you were on the planning board and we did that. So it's been a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what we're doing is, on this one, it's pretty straightforward, other than those two pieces that
But
Reed
I
just
thought
mentioned.
that applied, I didn't realize that the Beachside, I thought the Beachside still had the no electronic message centers except for government facility standard,
No, so all that, so I started getting into the technical piece, but the ordinance piece also had lots of different places that you could do it. And one way you can do it is in a plan development or a comprehensive sign plan, which is what you have in front of you. So
And
this
that
is the
plan development,
this is the vehicle that allows it.
so you almost have to have a plan development in the redevelopment area in order to be able to have a message center.
Yeah, so here's the reason why, Dino, practically and politically speaking, the city wasn't ready to say, okay, we'll just make this wide open for everything. They said we want to do it in increments. And so we did. We said, these are the types of uses in the vehicles PD comprehensive sign plan that you can do these signs. And here are the technological parameters. That's how it happened. And so that's why we're here, because we have one of those vehicles in this case to do it. Should it be more open? I think so. And in particular, I mean, the gas station signs, as an example, they're not allowed to have electronic, with the fuel prices. It's ridiculous. It looks way better if you have electronic than the ones they pull out with the plastic things that come in and out and break and crack in the sun. But so that's an example of something I think the city ought to look at and say, look, we should have these signs allowed more holistically. But You know, I do mine one at a time. Somebody's got one that they want to do, and I present it, and they've all been approved. So I'm not here to try to rewrite the whole book, but just this one.
I don't know. Go ahead and continue on. I just, part of me doesn't feel like a PD should have an advantage over the rest of the area, but the other part of me doesn't want to open up message centers to the entire area either.
It also means in a PD, the choice is made at the time of approval of a PD. You just can't.
Right.
What's that?
You can't have an electronic message center just by right.
Yeah, so it allows it to come in front of you, Dina. That's the whole idea.
That's right.
So the PD is a box you got to check off with the planning board, redevelopment board, and city commission if you're in a redevelopment area. So another example is the Kennel Club. You know, we did the one out there, and it was a PD. That's the vehicle that got that done. There's other examples, but that's one of them that I can think of that, you know, that was the way we got it done. And so if you're, I don't necessarily think it should be wide open. There should be some vehicle for it to be, you know, checked on a board like this to make sure, oh, it looks okay, it's proportional, it's not going to be distracting, you know, you're not, you know, doing something that's offensive or, you know, distasteful. And that's what it comes down to with signs. How does it look? You know, does it bother anybody? Does it look tasteful? And is it proportional? I mean, that's what most sign evaluations are based on, aesthetics for the most part.
Have there been any before that are kind of across from residential neighborhoods?
You know, I don't know. I don't know for sure. There haven't been that many, you know, so we've been doing them sort of one at a time. In this case, they do have standards that talk about how bright they can be. So at nighttime, they dim. And so I would wonder, I don't know the answer to whether there's somebody who could see this from their house.
Yeah.
If they can, they're in a place that's a pretty active area. We certainly want this area to be activated. I
And
think,
how's Turtle lighting with this?
as a matter of fact, I just saw them this morning. They're fine with it. It's blocked from the beach.
With what?
It's blocked from the beach.
Right.
It is blocked.
Yeah, the
The
standard is
opposite
if you're standing on the beach, you
Yeah,
can see
I
it.
know that.
You've been through it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I saw Jennifer and the other lady that does the turtle stuff this morning, as a matter of fact, on another case, and we talked about this.
And she'd appreciate
Yeah.
you calling her the other lady, but okay.
I'm trying to think of her name. It comes to me, you know, dysnomia is what they call it, right?
Right.
Were you done? Because I can stay up and finish this if.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Sure. And I want to introduce Jason, who's with Krabby's Oceanside, the new restaurant that's there now. Hopefully you guys have checked it out. I have. It's excellent. You know, the Cocina, for whatever reason, including maybe the signage not being as apparent, didn't make it. And that's not what we want. We want these new restaurants that people are spending a bunch of money to build on the ocean to work. And so far, it seems to be working for Jason and his group. And the signage is part of what hopefully keeps it alive.
I mean, the one good thing I like about it is the fact that it's not a monstrosity type of, I mean, you're only looking at 3.5 feet of the 16-foot
Right.
sign, you know. So, I mean, that's the one advantage. I'm going to let everybody talk, and then I have to let it sink in a little bit.
If I could, may I just finish a couple points? I'll
Yeah,
get through
sure.
this real quick, Rob, and,
Yeah, I'll sit down.
no, you're good. You're good.
It's just me tonight.
Yeah. So I mentioned one waiver on the frontage and the size. The second waiver requested is the maximum height. Typically on a ground sign, it's 8 foot. They're asking for double that at 16 feet. You see the scale. This is very large, so given that size, it really does not appear to be any concern to staff. Bring up, if I could, the slides there, please. If there's anyone back there, there you go. Okay. The one other thing is in the signage summary table in the plan. There was just several corrections, just based on the dimensions that are in there. That was all agreed to between staff and the applicant. So we're just having that cleaned up, and we would bring this to the planning board if if the board is good with that. And with that, we have a recommendation as staff to approve and bring this before the Planning Board, City Commission. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Planning Board on March 26th. That's the end of my report.
Okay. I guess even though we heard from you, we'll hear from you again. Please state your name and,
Yep, again, it's Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood. Here on behalf of the applicant, who's with me as well. If you have any questions for him or for me, I've already, I think, said what I need to say and answer any questions for you from this point.
and how many total signs? Now, I mean, I started looking, but I mean, as far as the waiver.
The signs are all there already. So if you want to see them.
You're
you
just
can
changing
actually
out
look at
some
them.
of the signs from,
Yeah, but the EMC is what's going to be put in the monument that's already there. It's retrofitting into it essentially. So these guys can have something that says like, crab leg night tonight or whatever on there, so they can have some additional exposure with some of the menu items they're bringing and things like that.
Now, were you supposed to come to this board last month, I believe, with some murals and stuff like that, or was that?
No, we did,
Crabby-
we approved a mural.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
What's that?
That was a while ago.
No, I mean, but I thought you were adding some additional ones, or no? Okay. all right.
No. No, everything that you see out there now is what we're talking about tonight.
Okay.
We're just switching it out from the Cosina to this, and we're putting the EMC board underneath the monument. Yeah,
On the front of the building.
the monument, the mural was
monuments-
already,
The monument's there, the mural is already there on the south side of the building. There is, and it's depicted on one of the pictures I saw up there, the crab on the front of the building that says Krabby's, because that was supposed to be part of this, I thought, as well.
It is.
Because we didn't do that one with the mural because it depicted a crab and said Krabby's that needed to be
Right.
part of.
so we kept the parts in the mural that are allowed to be a mural.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is commercial, advertisement. So the Krabby's part is the commercial
Well,
advertisement.
the
And it's
Krabby-
all memorialized in the CSP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is the mural on the front of the building is the one that is not done yet.
Okay.
Right.
Need approved as well.
Right. And that part's not a mural. Like I said,
Yeah.
that's advertising.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
part of
I
the,
mean, it's gonna be painted by the same guy that did the mural, but it's not.
Right,
a mural, okay.
right.
All right. Is that?
Yeah, any questions? Yeah, I thought Amy had a question. I was
Yeah,
gonna try to.
so I'm just glancing through here without flipping through every page. About where is this located? It's on A1A?
Yeah.
Out,
There's a rendering in the back there.
so the existing sign at almost 16 feet is already there?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're asking for is a waiver to place this EMC
underneath it,
on the sign
like in it.
that's
Yeah, it's
already
part of
there.
it.
Within it.
Yeah. I thought I had some that showed the positioning of it, but it's essentially on A1A on the north
Yeah.
side.
And this is all, this top part is lit up, the
Yep.
top that says Krabby's Oceanside, 'cause I've been there, I love, the restaurant's great, the food, I've been there a couple times, it's excellent.
He's got pictures.
Totally,
Sign,
yeah,
and it would just go in between that wood grain look and
Right.
the top area.
well, my question would be, well, number one, just off the top of my head, I think you're fine without it. If we add something like this, is Landshark gonna want something like this also, or are we gonna end up?
I don't know.
you
So they had a lot more signs than we
They
did.
do have a
Yeah,
lot
so-
more
so what-
signs. So
Part of
is it a-
part of the background of this is when I did the sign plan for both of them together, they didn't really know what they wanted to do at Cosina. And so it kind of had some placeholders. And so Landshark came in and used up most of the signage that was for the whole thing.
I remember.
And so these guys are just trying to get some signage so they can, promote their business. And I think the bottom line is, like Dino's saying, it looks pretty good when you look at it. It seems like it fits in
Yeah.
place. So that's what you look at. Is it too big? Is it ugly? Is it distracting to the traveling public? In this case, no. I think you put that EMC in, it's going to get these guys some more customers because they're going to say, oh, it's crab leg night tonight, we can go in. So to me, this one's,
Well,
I don't want to say
think-
the no-brainer word. This is one where it's kind of like, if you're trying to promote these businesses that we want, I mean, we didn't have any new restaurants on the ocean front in Daytona Beach for since the King's Cellar or something, back in the 40s. So this is a good thing, and we want to promote it. I mean, I know that the ultimate long play on this piece of property has to do with maybe even building things above the restaurant. I mean, if we could ever, get the right people with the right money and wherewithal, that's the hope. But in this case, for now, we want 2 restaurants that are successful.
Well, I think the scale of it, it's not humongous, it's not like a big giant billboard. So, I mean, if it's just a matter of getting a small message out there and, I guess I don't have a problem with it. I do think that Krabby's needs something because it looks very land shark there. And Cosina was kind of low key.
It was.
Their whole decor and everything was low key, so, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, now,
I don't think they need it.
I just did a rough calculation, and my calculation would be assuming a perfect rectangle, which obviously this is not. Considering the way the oval goes beyond that, I could safely say that your message center would be less than 20% of the total sign area. If I just,
It's 3.5 by
well, what I
10,
did
it
was
looks like.
3.5 would be 41 inches divided by, if this was a perfect rectangle, it would be, oh, wait, no. I'm sorry, I got it. Go back to the drawing board, keep
Yeah,
talking.
you're going to put the oval in the math somehow.
Yeah, that.
I know,
there's no way
I
could
know
do
the
this
pi
on
r
the
square
spot.
thing. That'll get you a circle, but I don't know about the oval.
Yeah, I don't either. Let me see, so. Okay, Amy, that was your question?
I'm good.
Jen, do you have?
E equals MC squared or something? I don't
Well,
know.
what I'm trying to come up with some kind of standard, I'm trying to come up with some, you threw me off with the oval, but I'm trying to come up with some kind of standard to where if we did look at this in the future, we could actually direct staff, make sure that it's less than a certain percentage of the overall.
Oh, that's a good point.
So that way, because I mean, while this might not bother me, if somebody comes here with this huge, message center, I'll be flipping out,
So there
Yeah,
are
so-
those standards already in the long list that I told you, because that's the reason why it wasn't listed as a waiver here. We've already got the percent of the EMC versus the rest worked out on this one. So I've had some other ones, Dino, that we had, that the EMC was bigger. I think the mall was one that the EMC component was bigger than the monument percentage that's allowed, but there is a percentage formula already in the code, am I right?
Yeah, I think if you saw the Ocean Center sign itself, I think there were some waivers there related to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of them that already had that waiver.
The display screen area shall not exceed 50% of the sign cabinet.
There you go.
Yeah, but I think 50% is too much.
Well, this is less.
Yeah, I
So
know,
we're-
this is less, I know, but I'm trying to, maybe this is a future discussion item that we should be discussing, because I don't want to see 50%, and this is obviously less, and I'm trying to do the calculation as we talk, but go ahead, John, did you
Oh, I was
have
just
any-
going to say, an oval has a major radius and a minor radius, so it's, the long radius say that it's 5 times the short radius say it's 3 times pi.
Excellent,
So,
excellent.
I was just burning with curiosity.
Can you cut that with a knife?
Yeah, I'll remember it. That works, that makes sense, because I was just going to do the average.
So, Dino, at the end of the day, if you come up with a calculation that comes up with a percentage that you guys want to use that in the future, I think that's okay. In this case, we're under it, so hopefully you like us.
Yeah.
We're doing. And so I would
I know
say
what
to
you're
you-
saying, I know.
I would throw out there to you, though, that ones like the one at Volusia Mall, they were above it, but it looks right there because it's a huge piece of property,
I see.
and the cabinet, it's not about the cabinet as much as the actual screen, so I think it depends on the situation. And some of the things that we've worked on with the EMC signs is, what is the speed of the car that's going by? If there's curvature in the road, does that change the perspective? There's a lot of different things that you take into account when you're talking about how big the screen should be.
Now, the other question I have is, as far as the message center, are you limited to, you can't advertise things other than
Right.
Krabby.
That's correct.
Krabbies. You can't say,
That's correct.
Go to wherever, or,
Right.
or.
So there's a bunch of standards in there, all of which we meet, for what you can or can't put in there in terms of, it can't be video. At first, it was letters in black and white only. And then we showed the commission what it looked like, and they said, it looks better with color. So they said, okay to color. And then they've now allowed things to be where they copy changes more often, because we demonstrated that if it changes every whatever it ended up being 30 seconds, there's no way anybody's going to see two times anyway when they're driving by. And then some places, video is actually allowed now at the Speedway when the events are going on. So there's been things that have been changing. Like I was talking about the tweaking over the years since we first did it. And, we're still learning about this stuff.
And when you were talking about gas station, the Wawa's in Ormond Beach, that,
Ormond's allowed.
that would be allowed, but it's not allowed in Daytona.
It's crazy.
I'll just say that we allow these white copy boards where everyone loses their letters.
Right.
And you try to
They look
put them
terrible.
up, and, yeah, it looks awful. And those still exist, and you can use those copy boards in a sign. So people along A1A still have a right to do that. This is just a better solution now, today, so that you can easily change that and get important information about price or something else out for the, when you're a restaurant or a gas station.
Right.
All right.
All right, I'll sit down.
Well, now I got to open up to public discussion. Okay, I guess I got John Nicholson for this item and another. Okay, John.
John Nicholson, 413 North Cranberry Avenue, Beachside. This is a conundrum. It is going LED, and I was here when we had the fight over LEDs, and he had to take his sign down. But I have a bit of a problem where those that have been there the longest, those that need the help, that would need and use the LED, and had them in the past, cannot have them now. The newcomer gets to have them, but those standards, those people have fought and lived here for years, cannot have it. That presents a problem to me. Not that this gentleman doesn't deserve it. It's the wave of the future. Although it's about 40% of the allowable signage, because remember, it was an 8-foot sign. And if you get that 3 footage, you're talking about almost 40-some-odd%. What we're looking at now is how do you treat the people that have been there a long time? You have to go to the city commission. You have to fight. A newcomer walks in and gets it gravy. I wasn't really happy, but you guys were in this graphic design and anything on the building. I thought it's excessive to start with. Those 4 graphics, 3 on the front, 1 on the side, comes across as a bit garish for me personally, especially when you look at the building next door. Now you're adding additional 16 feet, now movable signage. Where do we set standards for everybody? And it really should be everybody who has a business on A1A. So I'm not piling on this gentleman because he's doing what he has to do. It is logical to have a movable sign. It really is. It is not overly large that we've done in the past. So I hate to say pass it, but can you pass it with a caveat that the city has to look at the long-term residents and people that have owned businesses for years and how much we put on it? Now, you allowed this excessive signage there, not knowing this was coming down the pike. So that's what across from my house is Ocean Walk, and they kept adding, well, we'll just change the colors, and then we'll just add the signage. Oh, and then we'll allow the signage on this. Then we'll allow signage on the inside. Then we'll allow, so they just ended up with like 20, 40, 50 times the signage that was permissible because they did a little at a time.
Well, and let me ask, John, a couple questions. One, it's not allowed by right, so wouldn't
Right.
any business would be allowed to apply, just like these fellows are?
Nope, cannot.
How,
Because they have to be a PUD. So if you're just a run-of-the-mill person and you don't own 8 acres, how many people along A1A, the Gator gives?
I guess I still think they'd be allowed to apply for the
No, they
variance or
can't.
whatever. All right, I'm getting.
They have to get a
yeah.
special waiver,
Okay.
and then it ruins everything. Then you have to open it, once you open it for one, like tattooing,
Yeah.
we opened it for one on Main Street,
right.
and then we ended up with 5.
Right.
Okay? So I wouldn't mind it, but we have to find a way of treating our long-term people and the neighbors It is across from a neighborhood.
Well, and
Were they
let me-
notified? And the answer is no.
Well, and let me ask you, since you're a resident, how is that for you living in visibility of that signage? What's that like for you?
To be honest with you, when you look at Nevada, you look at New York and their signage, we're not even close, you know?
But what's it like for,
Doesn't bother me a bit.
Okay.
Really doesn't.
Okay.
My concern is fairness.
Yeah.
Because I know people who own businesses, and I don't know if I can say this, I don't want them to be screwed, okay? I want them treated like everybody else. Okay? Thank you.
I don't know.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else in the public that I'd like to speak to? Okay. All right. Any discussion? Okay, if the oval did not exist, we're looking at 21.7% of the sign. But the oval does exist, which would bring it down below 20%. Personally, I think 20% would be the maximum anybody should be allowed if we were to go this route. Okay, but that's my personal opinion, and that's just on the spot. And I know the oval makes it, the oval actually makes it to where it would be less than 20%. But anyways, okay. But what you're doing is, well, anyways, I will leave my comments for last. I'll open it up. Is there a motion for to accept?
I make a motion to accept.
A second.
Okay. Oh, wait, Tony, I'm sorry, but you're not a voting member.
You can't.
You're- Okay.
Mike's second.
I don't mean to do that to you, you know?
I'll just sit in.
But you will be, you will be the man at the
Yeah,
next meeting,
there you
okay?
go.
To the
You will be
planning
able to
board.
second it
There
at
you
the,
go.
I promise you that, okay?
Sure, I got you.
Yeah,
All right,
sure.
okay. So motion by Amy, second by Mike. All in favor, signify, now we're gonna have a discussion. Anybody has anything else to say? Okay, the only thing I would say is that I would vote to approve this. I don't want to see it larger than 20%, okay? I do see some of your comments that you made concerning the disservice that we're doing to some gas stations that, and I could see where they have the ability to come, to make an argument that, they don't want to be putting the stupid numbers on there and just have something where they press a button and change it right away. I could see that coming back to us sometime in the future, okay? But for now, I will also be inclined to vote for this, but if it goes beyond the 20% mark, I don't think I will be able to support it, okay? So all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
And that was a tough one for me, okay? I have to say that.
I still have to try the Krabby's place. I still have to try the Krabby's place.
Follow up that the city should,
Yeah.
okay.
And Reed, should we have a follow-up, or, is this something we're going to be revisiting in the future? I guess we only revisit it if it's a PD, so should it be an item of discussion for a future meeting? I don't want to have a special meeting for this, but maybe we should have some kind of, I guess we have the ability to say no to anything, right? So,
Should,
The standard is 50%. And so-
I think that standard's too high.
So it would have to be changed, but it's a text amendment which would go through the planning and zoning planning board.
and this board could recommend to the planning board and city council that like John was saying, the signage process needs to be reviewed. Just because you're 20 years old doesn't mean you can't have a video or electronic sign. And yes, you could hire an attorney and get a PD for that sign, but is that really what we want?
Or to make it more simple, there could be a standard for PDs in the redevelopment area, because at the same time, I don't want to be telling the Speedway, no, you can't have, because their property is huge, and they're, I mean, a message center, the size of City Hall, doesn't even put a dent at how big their stands are, So what I'm trying to say is, should we have a standard for PDs in the redevelopment area versus PDs in the other areas? I mean, is that something that we could look at? Because right now you're talking about PDs in general, right? Shouldn't we have a different standard for the redevelopment area?
You have PDs that are redevelopment PDs, and you can change those. But I think the concern you have, wherever you're changing the land development code to address the AMC, which is, in, right now, like the requirements in Section 6 of the LDC, the sign section, right at the end. And that's where you find all of those 21 requirements, that criteria. And if you want to change that, it wouldn't be this board, it would be something where a planning board can initiate that, the administrative staff can initiate it, the commission could initiate.
I understand, but I'm not talking about, I'm talking about initiating something that's specific to the redevelopment area, which would start at this board. I'm not talking about changing PDs for the rest of the area. I'm talking about, redevelopment standard for the earlier we were talking about overlays, and he said, well, you could have the PDs always refer back to the land development code if it's not addressed, okay? So what I'm trying to say is that I'd like to have a prohibition of some sort that redevelopment areas have, PDs are not allowed to exceed 20% of the overall signage. I mean, something as simple as that is in my opinion, would be, yeah, but that's me, okay? I don't know how the rest of this board feels,
What if this board, and I'm going to disagree with you, I think in a redevelopment area, you want a bigger sign. You want more attention, not less, but that's me, I differ. But could not this board make a recommendation to the planning board to review this process so that mom and pop hotel built 50 years ago could put up a EMC?
See, I don't want to open up that door, but Amy?
Yeah, my comment isn't necessarily about the size, because I think, at this board, we can evaluate each, as it comes and say, well, this is too big or whatever. But what I'd like to see is and I think John made the point of when it's, if it's visible from a residential area, that, kind of like when they do a rezoning, they notify people in the area about what's happening. So, for example, out my front window, I could always see the big Mayan sign. And they took that down and they put up the Comfort Inn, which looks wonderful. If they were to have put some sort of a big electronic message thing right under that big C, it would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And I would be upset that I didn't at least have a say. So I think if we're going to make a recommendation, we put that on the list too, that residents within a certain area, like even one of these little mom and pop, I think they should be allowed to have a little sign. But if it's in the visibility of someone's bedroom or someone's front porch, let's at least have them, be able to weigh in or to discourage that in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a few criteria we could look at.
Reed, correct me if I'm wrong, when the consultants came down and did a feasibility for the area, they talked about walking traffic, and they actually did not want drive-throughs for the risk of automobiles hitting pedestrians, which I thought that was ridiculous, not allowing drive-throughs in the, in the redevelopment area. And you remember I threw a fit, but anyways, so all the current drive-throughs are grandfathered in, but no new drive-throughs are allowed, which that's ridiculous. But at the same time, if you're talking about pedestrian safety and you're talking about message centers, it's kind of contradictory. I mean, because it does take away from your attention. You are looking at a sign. I mean, and that's another reason why I think limiting the signs is consistent with the consultants and what have you, because it won't detract as much, and you're not jeopardizing people who are actually walking in this redevelopment area that we're talking about.
So limiting the size, but allowing them on like the smaller places that don't have 8 acres.
Yeah, I didn't say, I even brought up gas stations, but but what I'm saying is that the overall area should not be not more than 20%, of the sign. I mean, I don't think that should be, the message center should be, and if anybody remembers the Maui Knicks one, I mean, it was a huge, you didn't, the entire sign was a message center. You didn't have, this is not the case here. This is a Krabby Joe sign with a little message underneath telling people, oh, you can eat crab legs. You see what I'm saying? There's a big difference between having this huge message center and and I don't want to see that, the sign itself just be a message center. I'd rather it be, a smaller section of the sign. That's why I'm saying that 20% rule, I think, is a decent one, and obviously we'll have to make exception to gas stations if we ever do visit that situation, because gas stations, they're only depicting the price. They're not doing anything else, But anyways, I don't know. Is that something you guys want, Tony?
Well, I can remember maybe last year we had a discussion about a project with the LED signs, the number of signs, and the scope of what you're talking about for, I think it was Reverend Bahu's church. And the planning board, we did talk about looking at some provisions, or having the administrative team to look at some provisions to look at the whole scope. So if I'm hearing you right, with my notes, you're looking at a residential consideration when signage is being requested. Also looking at a provision for older long-term businesses for some consideration, and also putting a limit on maybe signs in redevelopment areas at 20%, not beyond 20%.
Yeah.
I'd say not necessarily older businesses, but smaller.
Smaller businesses. I put.
Smaller is the important thing.
Okay.
Because
Smaller.
right
Small
now they're only
businesses.
allowed
On the
You have to be 8 acres large,
Okay.
unless if you,
Smaller businesses.
on the older ones, but also could be a new one.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make.
and that the sign has to be on site. I mean,
On-site.
you can't be putting your signs on, which that's part of the redevelopment standard anyways,
So just a question for Reed. Would this be something that the administrative staff could look at? Because I know they bring a lot of text amendment changes before the planning board, or is this something that I would take to the planning board and maybe they can make a recommendation?
Yeah, that's one avenue that
Okay.
works, is the planning board could take it up and request staff.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
I also think, we have to look at if everybody starts applying for these, there's going to be a higher level of ambient light, and that could very well affect the wildlife on the beach. There's a lot of studies that have shown that the level of ambient light affects birds and other creatures. I know in my neighborhood, the level of lighting is absolutely brutal. I can sit on my porch and read a book, and it is not fun. So, just saying. Yeah.
Okay.
I still stand by my earlier statement. Redevelopment means encouraging development. And if we go too small, the idea of a sign is to say, oh, gas is $2.23. Or they have all-you-can-eat crab legs, let me pull in. And if we curtail that make it smaller in a redevelopment zone as compared to a mom and pop on ISB West, I would like to say that we really want to make it easier for businesses to blow and go in the redevelopment area and make it more attractive in the redevelopment area than it is west of 95.
The reality is, what's going to end up happening is that the mom and pops aren't going to be able to afford this, whereas all the other one, and so I mean, I know some of like John, your point earlier, or was it no, it was Amy's point about the mom and pops and everything like that. They're not going to be the ones doing this. Okay, I hope they will. I hope the economy turns around and the mom and pops are the ones that are coming before us. But the reality is, you're going to see the bigger developments are going to be the ones that are going to be coming before us, and that's why I would like to limit the area.
And then as we're having this conversation, I think also, while we might think that the mom and pop businesses may not be able to afford it, just think about how much money they would spend attaining a lawyer on their behalf. That money could revert back to a project that would help their business to thrive. So I think anything that we could do to release the belt around the waist to allow those businesses to thrive would ultimately help Daytona. Ormond is doing it, Port Orange is doing it, and they're leaving us behind.
Why not?
So I think that this is something that the planning board could discuss and also, get a little research on it so we can make an appropriate decision.
In those, I think you mentioned 21 different requirements for the EMCs. Does it include something about the width of the street that they're on? Or, I think Rob said something about, whether
arterial.
it's on a curve, how, like.
Yeah, it describes the arterial streets.
Right, so each one, like, you may not see as many, or it might not be as available on a street that's only 2 lanes wide versus 4 lanes, or going 60 miles an hour versus 25. Right? I mean, are there criteria like that in
There's not a width requirement for the street. There is a provision in there that they have to meet the definition of the arterial street. And we have a list in the Land Development Code of what they are.
Okay.
So should the output of this meeting be that we recommend that staff review signage, EMCs and so forth, to not require a PD for existing small or grandfathered businesses? And we can throw in the 20% recommendation, but I don't think we're smart enough or have the talents to call it 20 or 25, but we can put it in as
Well, I
a
think the
recommendation.
idea was to let the planning board have a discussion about it,
But our recommendation is for them to look at it.
for the planning.
Well,
board to look at it.
maybe what's best is the planning board look at it, and then it comes back to us to look at what they came out with. I mean,
I probably would say the reverse. I think that the Beachside redevelopment sector should tell us what they feel is most appropriate and have it go to the planning board for review. I mean, what do you recommend, Reed?
Well, I'm just going back to text amendments are not the purview of this board.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at it as discussion is in the minutes.
Okay.
And you can carry on the message and let's see what kind of response you're going to get. And the planning staff is there, and they're the ones that will be writing any kind of a text.
Okay, sounds good.
And I would also say, because there is more than just one redevelopment board, we
Right.
don't know what the other two think of it.
Sure.
It's not necessarily just a redevelopment issue, it's a larger.
Large issue, okay. I'll take it back to the planning board.
Well, you know, and I'm specifically talking about the Beachside redevelopment when I'm talking about it. I don't want to force down, B Street or Mary McLeod Boulevard, any type of standard that we came up with for the Beachside. Every board should have their own say-so in the matter, you know?
Okay.
Anyways, okay, item 5, redevelopment project update.
It's Bike Week. So, you know, some of you actually hopefully make some money during this period of time. I can tell you that just sticking my head out the window, it looks like this is going to be a pretty good year for us. And I hope it is. Also, I had on the list a couple things. The Proto Group, the convention hotel condos, they're doing a couple things right now to keep things moving and defining how quickly they're going to move. So they've requested and got approved a 18-month extension of the incentive agreement. So this requires that all the work that they're going to do in the utilities in Oak Ridge and A1A that it qualifies under the incentive agreement, they'll have 18 months to get the work done for the hotel, and there's some bond requirements and other provisions that make sure that they cannot get a CO for a hotel until and unless they've done everything they're supposed to do with the road, and then we can reimburse for that work.
Do they ever come to us with signage or?
With signage?
Yeah, they have.
There was some signage in the original PD,
Okay.
and so that's.
Oh, make sure that their message center is less than 20%.
Okay. And the other thing is that they're also, you had it before you, the 42 hotel units. So that, just letting you know that that's in front of the city commission for their final decision. The last thing is that I have on my list is East ISB. There is a public information meeting that FDOT will have over at the Midtown Center on March 31st. That's a Tuesday at 5:30 to 7:30. And that's at 925 George Ingram Boulevard. That is the Midtown Cultural Center. So if you want to see what they have, people like me want to see it as well.
Okay.
What have they come up with?
And since you brought that up,
Yes.
years ago, Amy, I don't know if you were on the board back then, but I believe you were. They were talking about doing a circle on Main Street in A1A. Okay, you weren't. It was before you. Reed, you remember. And this board actually brought it up and voted it down. And the reason this board brought it up and voted it down is because we thought it would be a traffic hazard, and I mean, and if anybody remembers the Seabury Circle, it was a nightmare. I mean, and I don't think, yes, they have it in Europe and everything like that, but not on such an arterial road. When you got two arterial roads such as ISB and A1A intersecting, I don't know, that's just going to be disastrous. And I probably will be going at this March 31st meeting. Now, should this board make any type of recommendation as to yes or no to it, or should we just go there as individuals and speak our mind?
You can certainly make board comments, but again, it's not an advisory board, but in the way we used to operate before 2015. But
Well, we're still an advisory board to the planning board and the city commission.
for for specific powers.
Okay, not for things like
Duties
this.
that you have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But again, you certainly can attend, and just be aware of your sunshine requirements.
May I ask a
There's
question?
several.
what's that?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
About the Proto Group project, have they cleaned up that beach access yet? To make it like pretty and comfortable for people to make it to the beach on the north side of that property?
I have not seen it, so I couldn't speak to it.
Is that, so that
John
wasn't
says
one of the
no.
things that was in the time frame? Like, you're not getting your money until we get our nice beach?
There's, to that point, no, I don't think there's anything specific in there, other than there's some requirements related to, in the PD, to getting it open and
There
clean.
was.
There's also the requirement with the bathrooms, the restrooms. So all of that is something that will be dealt with before the COs are released, that everything's done on that
But no progress on
side.
it yet. I mean, they're just not, they're not doing anything with it.
It's going to be in their best interest, that's going to be their front door, right there for their hotel guests as well, is that section that goes down into the beach.
Well, I know that, but while we wait for them to finish the building, we're not going to get our beach access cleaned up. Is that correct?
I'm assuming that, just simply because you're going to be in a construction zone until that condominium tower is finished.
Okay. Anybody else?
Comments in general or about anything? Are we doing, going around doing comments now?
Redevelopment project update.
It's just redevelopment project updates. I guess we're not allowed to make. Well, I mean, you basically said that that's not our, I mean, we're allowed to have opinions, but that's not.
You can have all the opinions you want under your board comment.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I'm not holding you back. I just simply want to say that, got to make that comment to you. That,
Well, I would go on record then and state my opinion that the public beach access there that belongs to the people of Volusia County should be maintained properly, just like all of our beach accesses and all of our public facilities. It does not belong to Proto Group, am I wrong? That little strip on the north side, it doesn't belong to them, correct?
both sides are public access.
Right.
Right.
So there's sort of- isn't it
I'm
for-
talking about Oak Ridge,
Just
taking Oak Ridge.
Talking about the dirt road.
I
Oh,
thought
in the-
beach access was on
Oh.
the north side of the property.
Okay.
It's theirs, it
It's their-
belongs to them?
Temporary, yes.
It's temporary.
Okay.
It is
The
temporary.
main entrance will be Oak Ridge.
Oh, see, I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. All
Yeah,
right.
it is. Thank you for clarifying.
Stand corrected.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Mike?
On redevelopment, I'm good.
Hey, Jen,
I'm good on redevelopment. Yeah.
Okay, all right, and then, all right, item 6, public comments. Okay, let's start with Sandy Murphy.
Hi, Sandy Murphy, 136 Park Avenue. First about the signs, I'd like to comment that before you think any further about that, you should drive up A1A and look at the signage program that they've implemented in Daytona Beach Shores. They're supporting the development of monument signs for all the small hoteliers and other small businesses. They're including electronic messaging boards in that are greater than 20%. It looks beautiful. They've really done a lovely job, and it goes as a great example of what can be done if you think about the community as a whole package and not just property by property by property. And that's what I hear you saying, that you don't want to have people come to you over and over and over again to ask about this specific and that specific and this one, when you know that there are a lot of ones that are not coming into, that aren't current, that don't make sense currently. I don't see why you can't, just because you're an advisory board, express your opinion as a group that this is something that the planning board should look at. Maybe not even in the particulars, but as a group, I think it would be advisable that you request the planning board consider the sign ordinances under the LDC and see which ones can be updated. That's all, and especially considering not just large businesses, but small ones as well. I would put that in my recommendation. And another thing that I wanted to mention is, do we know, speaking of redevelopment projects, when the bridge is going to be done?
Wait, you said,
The Orange Avenue Bridge, will we know that?
okay, you want to answer that?
The 19th?
Not that far.
The-
Any day now.
I'm just curious, since I have the opportunity to ask.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. The last that we've received information is that there's an expectation that in early April. Now, that's,
Early
until I
April?
see somebody announce that there's going to be a ribbon cutting or something in black and white, we're all, kind of holding our breath.
Okay, because that's impacting ISB as well.
I don't believe that,
Sure.
but that's okay.
That's all, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. John?
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. You do realize you have somebody sitting here on your board that goes to the planning board. So you could, because you're in the sunshine, make a comment to him and ask him if he would mention it, because at the end of their meeting, they do a round robin, and all of the redevelopment boards make comments about what happened at this meeting. So you could perhaps maybe ask him to say, our board would very much like this to happen, okay? You do have a way around, because Sheila McKay thought she was doing a good job years ago by getting residents and people that live in the city on our boards, and then Jim kind of fouled her up by restricting the boards on what you can and cannot do. You used to be able to do all of this stuff. And remember, he's only going to be here a year. So within a year, and I don't want you to wait a year, of course, he won't be here, and the next guy would be, hopefully, more resident-friendly, all right? Secondly, there should be a map available to you all where this Airbnb should be located, okay? I know tourist zone, hotel zones are located. But some of you forget that on Seabreeze, there was a hotel for years where Wells Fargo is now sitting. So that street could still be zoned that way. Main Street had the Fernwood. Some of you remember. That could be, so Airbnb could be permitted there. I know there's an Airbnb right behind the photo shop. I have 3 on my street. So I think you all should know where it's permitted. And there should be a map, and it should be provided to you. It's not too much to ask. Secondly, Gilbert has been gone for, I don't know how many years. When are you getting the new members of your board? 1 year, it went 3 years not putting a replacement. Heckman sat there and sat there and sat there. I think you all should know and ask when your replacements are going to come in. I think there should be a fresh look at our standards. Suzanne Kewen, 35 years ago, came up with these standards in '85. Things have changed. The color standards have changed. The LED, we had 2 women, Edith Shelley and Tracy Remark, went nuts over LEDs. I think we should look back at all of the things, every single thing that we have, to look at what's appropriate now 40 years later, because things do change in 40 years. The sign, when you were discussing your sign, at 20% oval, we don't, in the audience, don't get to see that. And it really should be. The only sign we saw was a side shot, okay? It was this wide and 18 feet long. That's all we got to see of the sign. We should get to see more. When you're discussing something, we should be able to see what you're discussing.
I thought, I'm sorry, I thought you did, but.
Nope, we didn't. Gas stations, we do have LED on all our gas stations, and they're in, no problem with them anywhere. Okay, the planning board discussed it with Sam's way out in the middle of nowhere, all that. And if you ask anything or you want anything, you're not initiating anything. You're just asking. You need information. You want to offer information. These things have come up, and it is your responsibility, regardless of what Reed says, sorry, Reed, and regardless of what handcuffs Jim has put on this thing, you have a right to say, if there's anything involving that you notice in the CRA, speak up, please. You have a right to speak up. No one can keep that from you. Thank you.
Wait, John, real quick, just come here for a second. I'll feel better about this if you look at it.
Okay.
This is the changeable copy part of it.
Correct.
So the oval is right up here, you know?
Right. Not a problem.
Here, give it to him.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak before the board? Seeing none, I close public comments. Board comments. Tony?
I'm good. I look forward to, I'm going to say I'm good. I look forward to dialoguing with the planning board on some of the things that you all talked about in regards to the LED lighting as it relates to land development code. Hopefully, we will put an initiative in place that will maybe initiate staff to look at this so that we can look at all aspects, whether it's older businesses, new businesses, smaller businesses, or large businesses. We try to cover the whole gambit and see what we come back with. So I look forward to meeting this month.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Without generating a huge discussion on it right now, something that maybe at our next meeting, I'd like to direct Tony to bring to the planning board, if those of us on this board feel it's appropriate, is an expansion of short-term rental being allowed on Beachside, what areas, whether it's just in T1, which is basically condos, to in my neighborhood in Surfside Village, there are homes that need investment, they need private dollars. I believe I'm an advocate. I support short-term rentals. I think people should be allowed to do them, whether it's on a limited basis or however. I think there's ways to regulate and ways to look at it, that it doesn't have to be totally, throw the baby out with the bathwater thing.
By the way, Amy, would they be also contributing to the Halifax Advertising Authority, how they
Yes.
collect?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a discussion, like I said, I don't want to, get off on a tangent right now, but please think about it, look into it, and if this board is going to begin giving recommendations or requests, it's something that, maybe it'll go nowhere, but I feel strongly that it needs to be looked at. I don't like the way we're handling it right now. I own a property that has 4 units that are affordable housing right now, but the rent barely covers the taxes and insurances on it. So as best I can do, I'm trying not to raise the rents. It's not a feasible, long-term strategy. So please, if I can make a request of our board members, think about it for next meeting. If we don't agree on something to send, then that's fine, but I'd like to discuss it further. Now, for Reed, I have some questions because I have people in my neighborhood asking me questions all the time, and I'd like to kind of clarify some things about how parking is done during biker events and other times. The church at the end of my street gets a temporary parking permit. I don't know if you're familiar with it, the Methodist church that right across from the police station. And they do a lovely job. They have restrooms available, they have trash, they have staff, and they get a temporary parking permit during each biker event, and they have signs, and it's a very well-managed event. And are you familiar with that? That they get a...
I'm familiar that, I don't know the permit or what's required of it.
You don't?
For Bike Week, no. I'm not involved in
About
the bike.
temporary parking permits? You're not?
Not the temporary parking permit or whatever they have. I'm aware the church, is there during Bike Week. I drive by, they're doing.
I know the pastor, and I've spoken to them about it. I know
Okay.
they get a temporary parking permit. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is they get a temporary permit just for the biker event.
Right.
We look at the George Anderson-owned parking lot. They get a temporary permit that actually spans several years. So temporary parking permits can be vary.
And my neighbors with the corner lot got one.
The big empty one? Oh, they did? So,
Yeah.
you know, it can be done.
Yeah.
So on a vacant, I guess, you know, I wasn't aware that on a vacant residential lot, you can get a permit to do temporary
The
parking?
guy told me they went to City Hall and got their permit.
Okay. So if a vacant residential lot can get a parking permit, a vacant commercial lot, vacant multifamily, I'm wondering how we ended up with a huge assemblage of like RV and truck and parking going on at the corner of East ISB and A1A. The streamline assemblage has
Okay.
become I'm sure you've seen it. It's become you know, it's got a huge sign for RV parking. So I was going to ask you what type of permit, if that's a year-round permit that he has, or if it's just temporary during events. Because I'll just go on the record saying it's not a great thing for our image. I think it's not well, you know, the substrate is not appropriate. I mean, if you look in the land development code, especially in a redevelopment area, there's requirements for fencing, for landscaping, for paving, for signage. And I don't see any of those things being managed there. So it's something, you know, it's fine, we need parking. If it's a managed parking lot and that's what the city wants to see in that huge area, I'm not going to speak out against it, but I think it's just, it's one of several around that are not, you know, I don't think they're really up to our standards. And I'm going to quote this from section 6.1, which it's in the land development code, it's about restrictions on outside activities and uses, but it's a great paragraph on what I'm looking to see. It says, the city of Daytona Beach has an economy that is strongly dependent on tourism. The value of property is in part dependent on its appearance. Outside activities include sales, display, preparation, service, and storage, including these things, can adversely affect the appearance of a community and its public image. It is within the public interest and contributes to the general welfare to project an attractive community image. So that's the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's sort of, I don't think that's an attractive image. We have a really beautifully landscaped little corner that the city put down there. You know, it's very impressive, but we're kind of going crazy on that north side. So if you're not familiar with permits and how temporary permits are issued, I don't know if that's a planning board thing.
It's Bike Week. It's something that's between.
But it's not just for Bike Week. It's in operation all the time. When you go by, there's actually a trailer, an RV trailer that's parked on the side of the road with a sign, you know, a big old sign put up in front of
Right.
it.
You gave a couple of those locations, Streamline, and so I will look at that and I'll see what is the provision for that, because I do not know.
And it's, you know, it's just many, many properties sort of assembled, and I understand he's going to do a development there, so maybe there's a PD that allows him to do
No,
parking?
No.
Not yet.
I don't know that.
So that's, I just wanted to kind of go on record.
Yeah,
and say it.
I'll check into that. Bike Week is always, a whole
Well,
set
if
of
you
rules.
drive down East ISB to A1, you can't miss it, Reed, if you ever go there.
Yeah,
So
I do
I'm
go
sure
there.
you've seen it and you know exactly.
I see
what I'm-
parking over there. I certainly do. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
right. John?
All right. My topic is East ISB. The East ISB discussion has all too often focused on roundabout or no roundabout as if that were the only issue. If we accept the FDOT blueprint with or without a roundabout, I feel that we risk turning what is now a high-speed blighted road into an even wider, higher-speed, no less blighted road. I feel we cannot have this conversation without mentioning the life of East ISB, allowing room for businesses, apartment complexes, shade trees, not just palm trees along this corridor, walkability and that. Do we really want the main entrance to our beach to be a streamlined superhighway? Is our goal just to move traffic quickly, or is it to actually create a vibrant corridor filled with special places where people want to stop and spend time along the way to and from the beach? Because those are two very different goals. I feel I am a supporter of the Beach Street project and have hopes for it to revitalize the area. And I feel similarly about East ISB, that going into more of a superhighway direction is a bad direction. Thank you.
Mike?
And I hope a lot of people will be at that public meeting. I plan to. Yeah.
I also agree with Amy about we need to have discussions about short-term rentals. I am in an unusual position because I am on the lawsuit and can't talk to staff per the city attorney. So I kind of like the idea of maybe short-term rentals should be a, owner-occupied versus no one, could be different. But I also would like to extend it. Maybe we shouldn't have short-term rental regulations. Maybe we should just have rental regulations. If you've got a noisy neighbor or a neighbor that parks on the lawn, does it really matter how long he's going to be there?
True that.
Also, I guess I'm going to say this boldly. I feel that short-term rentals put money in the residents' pocket to improve their property. And by the way, I have to resign from this board because I just sold my house.
We're never going to make quorum, okay?
Might need some new members.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many people make a quorum for this board? 4.
Well, Marcia will probably be around.
What, who?
Marcia
Oh, yeah, Marcia,
will be
okay.
around. I don't think she's gone anywhere.
All right, so, okay, we still have 4 members, okay, so we have to have 100%. And does Tony count as a, no?
No, he's not one of the 4. He can't vote.
Reed, are you aware of how many applications they may have for this board that are kind of in the wings?
I believe there's several eligible applicants right now.
All right.
And
Well-
that information is in the manager's office.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say we should recommend that they look at some of these applications and get us some more board members?
Yes.
We ask,
They are,
Reed to do
and of course, that'll be one more reason to ask. It's urgent, and we need to have replacement.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's my turn, okay? I hate to see you go, and as far as, I've been reading and listening to the radio about the coronavirus. Obviously, everybody has, and the outbreak and everything like that, and their basketball stadiums are talking about playing without fans. Listening to the King Center, and they're canceling our golf Runkle and a few other events. I mean, and I don't want to downplay it, but at the same time, I hope I hope everything goes well. And I think that, I mean, it's not anything like the outbreaks that we've had in the past, to where every case turns out to be death or something like that. I mean, in this case, I mean, I'm just hoping that things calm down and things get back under control, because I'd hate to see, not just venting out loud, because I mean, I'm glad to see that the Peabody is going on doing what they're doing, and I'm glad to see that John Nicholson is in the audience, because I'd hate to tell you you're not allowed to attend this meeting because, we don't allow public participation or anything like that. But anyways, but I just hope everything goes well. But as far as the band shell concerts, everything's up and going, and we have a lineup, and I talked to the people about the pier, and everything seems to be on schedule for May 1st. For it to be completed, and I think you asked something about some of the lighting on the boardwalk or something like that, and I did talk to. I just went blank, Tim, and there are some poles being added, and they're continuing to be added, and hopefully it'll be done soon. And yes,
Take them out.
what's that?
They're afraid during tourist season they'll have to take them out because they shine on the beach.
No, by the way, just so you know, the rule is 100 feet north of Butler Avenue and 100 feet south of the medium line of the Main Street to where we have a standard, which is according to the Illumination Engineering of North America Safety Standard for Public Lighting, is what we're allowed to have, in that area, which is different from, and it's been upheld by a federal judge, so we're good. Okay.
That's where you stand.
Okay. With that, I touched.
Thank you.
I got, you guys-
I was
ground
brave.
now, eliminate
I trusted you.